Good evening, namaste, welcome to our lovely Sunday conversations.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. A very, very warm welcome to everyone. And our today's topic is drop judgments. The truth might surprise you. And when we were looking and working on the topic, we realized that all of us have a habit of judging intentionally or unintentionally. It just becomes a loop. The first thought when we even see a person driving slowly on the road, it either irritates us, or we say he doesn't know driving, or we just come up with something very, very small and but not realizing. And I think even I was a part of the whole scene most of the time, and we still judge people unintentionally. But my eyes were really opened when, first time when I did the abundance workshop with Didi. And a lot of the opportunities that come our way, they get, shut, or we ourselves create bottlenecks for, the way the law of nature works. And we stop these opportunities and opening new doors for ourselves when we judge others. And we see them on the page where they are at present, not really knowing what was the past, what it is. And it's so, and also I think judging others or pulling them down somehow boosts a rush of, you know, ego in us or self-esteem. So, Didi, my first question to you is, why as humans uh, do we so easily judge people, and that habit becomes so intense like a parasite that it even shuts the doors of abundance flowing our way.
Okay, thank you, Vinita, for that introduction. I think we gathered a lot in that the little words that you shared. So, firstly, I was a student who used to ask a lot of questions to my teacher. I used to keep saying, why? Only if I know the answer or the reason to this why, I'll be able to deal with whatever I'm struggling with. And actually, there's no answer to the why. Right? It's just how our mind works. And we are so used to that commentary and questioning and answering from the mind that we move. The moment we see something, there will be a natural comment that will pass in the mind. Okay, but how much attention we pay to that, that determines whether we are judging the whole issue, situation, person, or is it just something which is passing by, right? So it brings us ultimately to the same thing, that there is always a voice in your head, but you don't need to be conversing with it, all the time, unless it has some relevance. So for me, in fact, what prompted me to really pick up this topic was, of course, that little quote that was shared on one of the groups was definitely there. But more than that, I was listening to a talk, and it was talking about, why do we have to say things which hurt other people? What is it that we get out of saying those things which are hurting other people in a different way? Why are we getting into this kind of a judgment of anybody or anything or any situation? Most of our judgments are projections, isn't it? That's the first thing that I realized. Most of the judgments are projections. And so those projections, are those projections really helping me to grow? Are those projections really supporting me or making me or someone else feel good? Or are they just something that I have presumed, I have affirmed, and I have taken, yeah, this person is like this. So it has nothing to do with the other person. The judgments always come when firstly we are judging ourselves. Okay, we are judging ourselves. The moment actually in life we get comfortable with ourselves, whether it is a physical, judgment of a physical, say, feature or aspect of us, or judgment of anything that is happening in our lives, the problem just disappears. So the main thing is, the main focus is to have trust in what is happening and understand that there is no need to uh, what I want to convey is that when we are judging, we are thinking that these things could be in another way or should be in another way, isn't it? That's why we are judging, that this is dark, or this is light, or this is fat, or this is ugly. It's only because we don't want it to be that way, and we think that it should be in another way. And that judgment actually limits us and also limits the other person. Exactly what Vinita you were saying before we started this conversation. So that judgment is usually coming from a preconceived thought in our minds, isn't it? That it shouldn't be this way, or like just say, let's just take any statement of judgment and how miserable that statement makes me as well as the other person feel. A lot of times we feel that, the other person is judging me. Supposing I feel, oh, I've been on a diet and I've lost so much weight and I'm feeling very good. But the moment I enter a party and I see all these, slim looking figures all around, I feel that, yeah, even though I have lost weight, but I'm still a far way to go. So that whole peace that I had with myself totally vanishes. And I feel, oh my gosh, in the midst of all this, I'm like so fat. And everybody must be thinking, what is, just look at her or just see her. She's looking so fat and all. So, firstly, nobody is thinking this. Nobody has the time or the energy to be thinking or judging you. We feel that judgment, and hence we sort of send those vibrations out, and so we receive those things from others, isn't it? You'll hear, because you are feeling that, what am I doing? I'm following this diet, but still I'm nowhere near where I ideally should be. And even though I might have lost a couple of kgs, but I still feel that my work was useless. And then when I walk up to somebody, the first thing they say, oh, I thought you were following some diet, or I saw you at something like that related to that, because you are already brewing that thought inside you. And when you send out those vibrations, invariably it is going to come to you. And the judgments come in mostly due to low self-esteem, when we're not feeling good about ourselves, when we're not feeling good about our life, or such things which we are struggling with, then that's the time when judgments come in. But it really is not about the other person. It is because there is an element within us where we are judging. And even if we are judging somebody else, it's because we are in a space of fear. We are in a space of fear. Sonia, I'm really, really, really thanks to you. Thank you that you are here. Because I feel that you struggle with this so often, isn't it? Your mind immediately takes you into a judgment of yourself or of others. So there's already a projection that, yeah, he must be thinking this, she must be thinking this. And actually, the moment you say that, it becomes your reality and you become miserable. You become helpless. Isn't it? Isn't it? Say something, share something.
Yeah, that's true. That's, I mean, even though I have a sense that I understand your judgment, and I'm not flippant about it, but it's true that it happens. The only thing that has happened for me in the last few years is that I'm able to catch it earlier than before. So that awareness has helped, that okay, I know that I'm judging myself or I'm judging somebody else. So there is a choice in the matter at that point of time, instead of it going really long.
Yeah. So that awareness is very important, And the thing is not that. The thing is that when you pass a statement of judgment through your mind, you immediately begin to believe in it. That's what causes the problem. Otherwise, it's just a comment. It's not a judgment. It becomes a judgment when you put a stamp on it. It's like a judgment that this is true, isn't it? That's what a judgment is. Even legally, if we look at the term judgmental, being judgmental, it's like what I'm saying, this is it, That's when the problem starts. He's thinking like this about me, or she's thinking like this about me, or this is what is happening in my life. And there's nothing like that. It's a projection, like I said, probably a projection of your mind, or a conclusion, with the things that are happening around. But when you start putting energy in it, and the moment you start believing in it, it becomes true for you, and that's what creates the suffering. Otherwise, it's just a comment, it's just a statement. I mean, is that clear? Is it making sense?
I have a question here. When we talk about judgment, isn't it because we are looking in for validation from others? Whether validation comes like a criticism or an appreciation. So the way our mindset works is that we take what others say, or very few people whom we believe that they should appreciate us, their comments as judgments also, and their feelings like whether it's appreciation or anything. So
So
is there a difference between judgment and criticism, if I can say that?
yeah, definitely judgment and being judgmental or being critical are absolutely the same thing, isn't it? It's in a way absolutely the same, because you're trying to find the so-called fault in somebody or something like that. That's why it's called a judgment, isn't it? But what I want to emphasize is on that judgment or that critical statement or situation is something which you are believing in. That is what causes the suffering. If I say, okay, you are looking so fat, but you don't believe in it, it will not hurt you. It will not hurt you. But when you believe in it, that yes, of course, I'm not looking good, or I'm whatever. Like, I'm just giving you this example of something like looking fat or looking dark or looking, but that's what makes it hurts you, or that's what other person is passing a judgment on you, isn't it? But it will only trouble you, or it will only bring misery in you when you believe in what the other person, or even your own mind. It's not necessary, it's just the other person. It's your own mind that could create the judgment, isn't it? Yes, Mamta?
Yeah, I think from the time we are born,
Yeah.
we are actually naturally designed to, evaluate people or evaluate every situation and evaluate every moment. But slowly the conditioning, it changes into judgment and criticism. And depending upon our conditioning, even the vocabulary of each household is different. In my home, certain situation can be described in particular manner, and we usually use it at a at a lighter tone also, without understanding that even we are making a joke or a lighter tone, maybe we are talking about someone. So actually we are judging and compartmentalizing, uh, and slicing by every moment, every situation, every person. And actually, yeah, you are right, it is our own perception that is reflected each moment as we judge people. But slowly, I think my journey began quite a few years back, but I think since a couple of years, slowly when you come into awareness and understanding, so slowly you can shift this judgment or critical analysis into practical evaluation. We go for meetings, we go for work, we have situations to deal with. And the moment we become emotional, attach our emotions to it, or we compartmentalize the entire situation into good or bad, and we slice it down into, this might happen, this might not happen, then the problem begins. If we only practically evaluate as it is what the situation is, that I think needs lot of awareness and lot of practice with your own self. And then I think a lot of issues and problem with your own self can be solved, and the world is kind of sorted. And I'm working on it. I always say I'm work in progress.
But a lot of times this, like you mentioned, a lot of important things. A lot of times when we judge or we are critical as we are growing up in our growing up things, or even as parents when we judge our children or we are trying to be critical, the belief in the back of the head is that that is really going to help the child to improve. It'll help me to improve if I'm critical about it or I'm hard on myself. And like even when we do SRT, a lot of times programs like self-punishment come in, which is basically a judgment of my own self that I'm not good enough and I need to be punished, or I need to be only to improve my whole self.
Our entire education system is built on that.
Absolutely.
Every Monday
But
you are judged,
now,
you are
I would say
evaluated.
now there's a lot of change in the education system. There's a lot of change in the parenting processes, because parents are much, much more aware of what they are speaking, how they are bringing up their children. So, it's very, very different. So, especially like I can understand. Then again, there are two frames, because when I hear Sonia, and a lot of times we discuss and she writes to me, in the midst of whatever she does, there's a lot of work and there's a lot of judgment that just floods those conversations totally. And I'm not blaming her one bit, but I see how she's, entangling herself, and many of us, not just her. She's here, so I'm taking her example.
I was
Many of us,
exactly the same, Sujata. You forgot.
exactly. So
I was
most of us
exactly
were,
the same.
but those your own conversations totally entangle you, because there's a question, there's an answer, 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 and there is no pause between that whole thing. So it leads to such a jumbled, sort of a confused space where you just don't know how to untangle yourself, isn't it? And each one is a judgment, but this, but that, because your mind is so quick in answering, and we don't take that pause to reflect on what the mind is saying, because there's so much of a rush that there's so much to do, or so many things that are coming, isn't it? So, and later on, later on, when we just reflect on it or we look at it, it just passes away, because you realize that half of those things were not really true, or they didn't even arise, and they didn't even create what your mind had thought, the kind of volcano it would create, and how it would erupt in your life. So that's the most important thing there, then turns to being that just learn to take the pause, just reflect on what is it that you're thinking. Because a lot, not a lot, I would say all of it is just unconscious chatter in your mind. It is a lot of unconscious chatter that is there in your mind. And a lot of times we believe in it because it is based on our previous interactions or our previous experiences in that field, whether it is in your work, whether it is in your parenting or whatever. It's like, I have to be careful, I have to be cautious, so I need to have all these things beforehand in my mind, and I need to know how to handle them. So those judgments have already been given. There's no option of that not happening, and so many times it doesn't happen. So the thing at the end of it always comes back to taking the pause. And even if you think, but I know it has always been happening like this, but it's not necessary that the next meeting also it is going to happen like this, isn't it? And why is this person doing this? What is it that I am doing wrong, that because of which I'm receiving this? We all go through these things when we are, when we get stuck, but really learn to slow down when that interaction is happening. And when I say slow down, it's not really slowing down in terms of the time frame. It's just slowing down in just breaking up. What is it that I'm entangling myself in? Can I just put these things, just write down all these things that are entangling my mind? Is it really making sense? And you'll see that they won't. It's not, it's just a continuation, or a lot of thoughts that are just flowing, and you're so used to answering it even before the question is completed, right? And then there's the next question, there's the next statement, there's the next, and that just creates a whole bundle of things which you feel caught in. Actually, I feel a lot of judgment that comes from within for ourselves really puts us in a prison. It's like it ties all those bondages and chains around us, because we judge, we feel that this is how it is going to be, isn't it? And that's when the trouble, and all that what it is going to be is not very nice and pleasant. It's usually something which is fearful, which is going to be like creating misery, suffering. It's usually something which is negative, isn't it? Is it, Sonia? I really want you to listen to this and share honestly from your heart, because I see how you get caught in it, and I see how easily you even get out of it, isn't it? But you slip in very easily without reflecting in the thing. So yeah, when you
Yeah,
put your
so when you're saying pause and reflect, for me, when I pause, then it disappears.
Yeah.
Like I can't remember. That's what I was trying to remember. But when, as much as I can remember, when I reflect, I don't come back to the same thought.
Mhm.
So, but the tough time is till I find myself capable enough to pause, because that's a mechanical process. It's not like if I was capable of just automatically slipping into a pause, then I would not be on the thinking side anyways, right?
Yeah.
So वो जब से वो thought आना शुरू होता है और वो permutation combination दिमाग में होते हैं, so it takes a while for me to so to say, okay, what am I saying, what am I thinking, and this and that, or or it's just that life will take over and then you forget about what you were thinking. But वो वाला time होता है, उस time में obviously गड़बड़ भी बहुत चीजें हो जाती हैं, because obviously I'm not in my best moment at that time. So if there is a low thought, then 5 more low things will happen just because your immunity is down at that moment. So I want to work on that. I want to work on, and considering that I've seen in the last few years that duration getting really, really short, but however much it is, it's not nice. So what can be done to go further from where I am?
Yeah. So see, when you say that, it's firstly, like even when we declare something like this, that this just happens, and I just get caught in it, or the whatever the statements, the questions just keep coming. You have to understand that this too is a thought which you are believing in, isn't it?
Yeah.
This too is in a way a judgment of yourself, right? Now, when you say that you really don't know how to take the pause, just remember that when you come into a space of discomfort, that means that you have already made a judgment and believed in it, isn't
Right.
it? That's the time you just take the pause. You need help at that time when you're feeling that discomfort, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it becomes so strong, and then you start writing to me, like many of us do, right?
Yeah.
When you're beginning to feel that discomfort, take the pause. Take the pause, reflect what is happening. Instantly, any sign of discomfort, reflect on that. Any sign of discomfort means some disalignment has happened, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Some disalignment has happened, or something has not gone in the way that you were anticipating it to go.
Yeah.
Right? And then there are these various thoughts of what happened, what did he say, what did she say, why do they do this, why is this not happening? All those things start off. So just pause and reflect, not on question A, B, C, or what is creating the misery. Just come back into your awareness. Just take a pause and come back into your awareness to be really present where you are, and then see, is there still something that is troubling me? Come into your center and then address all those questions. What creates the havoc is when there's so many questions or so many things that I need to do, but I'm like, just because I need to do all of it, I get into all the conditioned responses that are there, which are somewhere imprinted in my subconscious. So I can't think different from the box. I will think the fearful thought. I will think the negative thought, isn't it? So, but when I pause and say, okay, maybe I can't think positive right now, but let me just neutral. Who knows whether it's going to be yes or no? Who knows whether it's going to be right or wrong? Who knows whether it's going to be up and down? I don't know. But I already presume and think that, it's going to be wrong, or it's going to be negative, or, this person is threatening me, or the situation is threatening me in some way. That's the judgment that we declare. But now nothing has happened. My COVID test showed, like it's positive, but now it's like panic. Right? Yeah. So that's where you need to stop and take the pause. Okay, what is the next thing that I need to do? Do I need to get scattered and anxious and, all that? Or do I need to pause and do what is necessary? Right? So whenever you feel that sense of discomfort in yourself, know that you have become identified with that negative thought. Any form of discomfort. It could just be like a little churning in your stomach. It could be a heaviness in your chest. It could be a throbbing in your head. It could be just that I don't know what's happening, confusion, anything. Just pause. That means that you have shifted from your center. That's when we make judgments, isn't it? If we're in a neutral space, we will never make judgments.
But when I'm in the pause and I've paused mechanically or consciously, but the thought is not leaving me. So like at that point, what often happens for me is that I am obviously justifying that thing, that it's true, it could happen. So I'm obviously looking at validating more on the side of that fear, whatever the thought is that got me that fear. तो वो मेरे साथ ऐसा होता है कि वो fear जाता नहीं है. It is just that my priority shifts. I have to get to something else, and which is why that moment passes away. वो moment चला गया. So then that fear, sometimes it also keeps lingering through a lot of stuff, and sometimes it doesn't. But it comes from just those patterns. It just comes from all those patterns that it has happened. It's happened earlier. What if this happens again? So, I also like logically by my mind, I try and tell myself the same things, that it is not bound to happen. This is not the only one way that it can happen. It can turn out into, there are many other possibilities that it can. But honestly, all this just looks like intelligent conversation to me at that point. What my heart is feeling is more of that. Or that's where I'm more pulled towards. And since I feel that, okay, I'm just trying to be more intelligent and just trying to soothe myself, uh, that thing doesn't. So like a lot of times, like when you also say that relax, you know I know वही करना है, relax ही करना है,
In a
but
way, you're just allowing the time to pass. कि अभी वो निकल जाए. That's what you're saying, right?
yeah,
You're not really addressing the issue, is what you're saying, right? Or that fear really just lingers because you distract yourself, or something
Yeah.
takes to attend to something more important, or you need to do something. So you move away from that. But the fear doesn't leave you, is what you're
Yeah.
saying, right?
Yeah.
So see, that's what I'm trying to tell you. And that's why when anything else, a small trigger will come ahead, it will again build up that same fear.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's like, my God, now I'm bursting. I don't know what is going to happen. And I'm not able to sleep at night because the fear is really, really hounding me now. From
Yeah.
morning, there have been situations which are coming, and you somehow distract yourself from the situation, but the emotion becomes bigger and bigger with every interaction, or with every situation, whatever you're going through in your day, right?
Yeah.
So that's building on the discomfort, isn't it? So when I
Yeah.
tell you to relax, or I tell you to breathe, my only focus is to come into a space of non-judgment,
Nothingness.
space, just blankness, that just
Yeah.
just let whatever. And I don't know if you remember, or have I ever mentioned this to you. I always say this, like, supposing somebody has gone for an interview and they say the result for the interview is going to come in 10 days, and the person says, I'm very sure I'm not going to get it. Okay. And I say that, why are you giving up now? I feel I have the trust that you will get it. Both the situations are untrue. He says I will not get in. I say you have chances of getting in. Now for 10 days, how do you want to live? Thinking that I won't get in? 50%, 50%. दोनों में से अभी कोई भी सच नहीं है ना.
Yeah. Yeah.
कोई भी सच नहीं है. So this 50% is that I'm not going to get in. And how is it going to make you feel miserable, depressed, unworthy? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Feel okay, so there are chances that I would get in. Those 10 days, you will definitely live with more trust and with more hope.
Yeah.
And that's the vibrations that you're sending out to the universe. Instead of
Yeah.
already staring and judging, कि अब तो ये मेरा होना ही नहीं. So you will live with more trust, with more hope, and more aspirations that, I have the trust that I will get into this job. And say, God forbid, after 10 days, you don't get into the job, in spite of trying to be positive, so-called positive, trusting in it. Of course, it's going to create disappointment, isn't it? But then if you go into the aspect that, मेरे को तो पता ही था कि मेरे को मिलना नहीं है, I was sure, but then you are actually putting yourself so low. But if you're in a high vibration and the disappointment comes in that, oh, you've not been able to get the job, you'll still be able to pick yourself up. You will be disappointed, you will be discouraged, there will be, but you're already at a little elevated high vibration from where it is easy to see, okay, now let me see what next. Whereas if you're going down, 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 and suddenly the news will come that you've been rejected, you'll go down in the dumps. Isn't it? So I'm not saying this is true or this is true. But how do you go through that period, whether it is 10 days or 10 hours or even 10 minutes? You'll say, okay, now I'm feeling this fear. Let me just be with this fear. Let me just breathe into this fear. The fear is only a sensation. It's nothing more than that.
What do you mean by be with the fear or breathe into the fear?
Meaning like, okay, supposing when you say, I feel very fearful, what is the sensation that the fear creates in your body?
Body pain, headache.
Anything, okay. Supposing you're having a body pain. Now that time, just focus on the body pain. Take your breath to that part of the body. Supposing I'm having a headache, I can just visualize that I'm breathing into this, my breath is going to because the pain is due to tense muscles, isn't it? Tense nerves, right? So when we give it prana, or give it oxygen, or give it our attention, it relaxes that area also, right?
Sure.
To ease out that sensation. It is only a sensation that I am equating and giving it a name as stress or fear.
True.
The vibration in your body, and because it has a story ahead and behind, it becomes a reality. isn't it? So we
Right.
just need to deal with that vibration. That's all. We just need to deal with that vibration. Suddenly there'll be some good news and you will feel so happy. Where will the fear go? Where will the pain go? It'll just dissipate, isn't it? Because you've instantly jumped up to a high vibration.
Yeah.
Right? So we are trying to subtly, consciously, with awareness, trying to bring you into a higher vibration. Now, what is really, I would say, the need or the ultimate goal that we're trying to get to through these conversations, through the energy work, through all that we do, is just that whatever you're going through in life, don't suffer, don't make it a suffering. Isn't it? You could be going through the most traumatic experiences, but let's still hold on, because there is light at the end of the tunnel. And everybody, this is life. I'm not saying everybody. This is life. Somebody is struggling in their finances, somebody is struggling in their career, in their health, in their relationships. Things are bound to so-called be going up and down. It will not always be happily ever after. Right? And that is life. We just need to understand that when it's seeming dark, it's not the end of everything. There is still light somewhere. Just hold on. And the best thing is, when we say that time heals, time doesn't heal. I don't think time heals.
Yeah.
Just that it passes by. And like everything else in life, these emotions or these sensations are also transient. So they also pass away. They lose their power over you because you start to either not give them attention or you move into a different vibration and they'll pass away. But if you hold on to them, if we continue to hold on to them, they will invariably become larger. Yeah, and I read this first, in fact, when I did my EFT with Rohini, the first time she mentioned, something which I read was fear, the full form of fear. It's false, FEAR. It's false evidence appearing real. Right? It's false evidence appearing real. And we believe so much in that, thinking that this is the reality.
Yeah.
Isn't it? So anything that we say now, fear is a sensation that we feel in the body in some way. Right? Anxiety is a different kind of a sensation. A pain is a different kind of a sensation, but they are only sensations. Sensations means that the cells in the body are vibrating in a particular way, and your mind has been conditioned or trained to be in such a way where they know, okay, this is joy, this is sadness, this is grief, this is fear, this is pain. Isn't it? It's a different vibration or a different sensation, which you have given the name as pain or fear or guilt or grief or whatever it might be. Isn't it? So it's just a sensation. And if you put your focus on the sensation rather than on the story that has created the emotion or the sensation, then it will invariably disappear. Just take your breath there. When you're feeling heavy in the chest, just breathe into, or just breathe into your heart center. Just come back here, because then the mind chatter stops, because your focus shifts from the chatter in the mind to the breath. And the breath is the biggest healer. It's the biggest supporter. And then from that centered space, you can take the decision or look at the situation from a different perspective and deal with it in a more, say, organized or in a more constructive way, rather than feeling hopeless that ab to ye hoega hi nahi, ye kharab ho gaya, usne ye bol diya, wo hamesha aisa karta hai. Because so pause, stop. When your mind is going on and on and on, and you're feeling that, that not so good feeling inside you, pause, because that is what is taking you down the drain. Isn't it? So catch yourself there. And I always say, you don't come so regularly for our Sunday talks, Sonia, but that is what actually I always say, don't wait for a time of crisis to get into the pause. Every hour, every 2 hours, put a reminder to just pause and breathe. Do nothing, drop everything that you're doing and breathe. Just come back to your center.
Start that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're doing very well. It's not that. I mean, the kind of things and what all you're handling, it's invariable that these things are going to come up, isn't it? So you're dealing with it and you're coming into that awareness. It'll just like pass away. It'll not even bother you beyond a point.
I'll do that.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
When it happens to me in terms of that stomach churning and all, So just put your hand on the stomach or your heart. It just gives such an instant relief, or maybe the entire focus here shifts. So all that feeling of helplessness or fear, as we say, it just starts melting down on its own. Then possibly
Absolutely.
after that I realized that then breath also. I mean, that's how it works with me. My hands actually automatically go there.
Yeah.
It settles the
Yeah.
energies.
Yes, Arjun? You wanted to share some?
Sorry, I was muted.
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Um, I was saying, I just wanted to share, so I've been messaging you a lot over the last 2 weeks, and we've been discussing this. And two things, like what you said right now, and I think we discussed last week also, is like I realized that what I'm in the habit of doing is when I'm feeling down, then I turn to meditation and other techniques, and then as soon as I start feeling better, I stop. And like the analogy that came to my mind was it's like a bank balance. And that like in life, when we're earning well, it makes sense to save. So then on a rainy day, we can pull out of it.
That's a very nice analogy.
And like that's something I need to get back to. And the second thing, you were talking right now, and I remember you also shared this, and I saw a talk by Krishnamurti last week where he was saying that he was talking about death and fear of death. And he said if I were to die right now, then there'd be no problem because there's nothing to be afraid of. But why do I fear something that I know it's going to happen, but it's not happening at this moment? And when it happens, it'll happen. I think that's what you were saying, that like about centering. And I remember you've done this exercise with us where you said just you made us close our eyes and say, okay, forget what's bothering you. You feel better, and we immediately feel better because it's not happening at that moment. So if it's like if we can just, or like what I keep trying to do, and I don't do it very well, but like even now in the talk, my mind kept wandering. But if I keep trying to pull myself back into this moment right now, then what I'm afraid of isn't happening right now. So it lets me live at least this moment
Exactly.
in peace.
Absolutely.
And the next.
Yeah. And as you said that, if that fear that it's not really happening, it's a false evidence. It's just a false belief that that is appearing real to you, which really has no reality to it. But our belief in it makes it our reality, isn't it?
Yeah, and it makes it a reality in my mind because till it happens, I don't know. And I think what I've seen is that even if it's something I'm very scared of, when it happens, I handle it. So it's like fear of fear itself.
Yeah, you joined a little later. We were talking about all these judgments coming from projections.
Yeah.
It is very true. The biggest thing that we fear is the fear of the fear. That is what is the greatest thing, because we don't want to feel fearful. And all these other emotions also that we don't want to feel. That's what creates the discomfort. Tanvi and Srishti, you had raised your hand, but I'm sorry, we were in a conversation, so I didn't distract Sonia. But I would love to hear your listen to your sharing.
No worries, Auntie. I think a lot of things were answered by Sonia, Auntie, and you. Like you rightly said, ki it's the story that keeps on binding in our mind, and we start believing it so much that we actually forget what the reality is. I think it's the logical part of your mind that plays with you, and somewhere or the other, the ego comes in that you have to prove yourself right at all times. That you forget that there is something called heart also, and at the end of the day, you're hurting yourself so much that you just want to keep yourself and your point so much right that you're forgetting that you're hurting yourself so much. So in my case, it's been that way, is that I always wanted to make myself clear key if certain things are coming, where are they coming from and why are they coming from. But now I've realized that I cannot win over it. As you say, wherever they're coming from, let them come, let them go. But you have to surrender in it. And I'm working on it and doing the pauses, even though I know there are little stormy days that comes up, but it's okay. I have to manage it that way. So yeah.
Yeah, and you're doing absolutely fine. You're all in that awareness. That is what is needed. The rest will happen. The rest will really, really happen. And what you mentioned was, Srishti was talking about how Srishti, or even Sonia, and so many of us, all of us, in fact, when we get caught in that, that's what we call as self-sabotage, isn't it? Because we are not really realizing where we are allowing ourselves to slip down mentally and emotionally, and that begins to drain us.
Right.
Yeah. And a lot of times, as we were talking just before we started the session, you know, a lot of times when there's a conversation or there's something about a third person, we say that I'm not really judging her or I'm not really judging him, but this is what is, what is the feeling that I have. So when we are saying this from a neutral space, it's obviously not a judgment. But if we are saying it from a space where I'm very much attached to the outcome or what the other person's actions or behavior or way of, say, living or being is, then 100% it's a judgment, isn't it? It's 100% a judgment. And there is a very subtle line between being critical for improvement or being critical from being judgmental, isn't it? So there is a subtle line in this, and we know it. And a lot of times, like the main topic or the things that we were talking about, or like how we got to this, was that these judgments in our mind actually, they create a lot of rift in relationships. They create a lot of havoc at your place of work, or in general in the way you are interacting with people, because you already have that judgment in your mind and you are already presuming that this is how it is going to be, isn't it? And we, like I said, we never presume the good. We always presume something which is negative or fearful. And then that's how it starts to manifest. So catch yourself when you're passing a judgment. Catch yourself when you're passing a judgment. Pritika, why don't you just ask your question, because I'll have to read what you were writing.
Auntie, I was saying that isn't it true that the judgment sort of bothers us only when we want to please the other person?
When we want to please the other person.
Somebody else. When we want to please, when we want to please somebody else, only then the judgment bothers us. Otherwise, it wouldn't even matter.
Yeah, please, as in we're wanting the approval, like,
validation. Like seeking approval, validation, etc. So I'm saying only then does it bother us. I mean, whatever the other person is saying, whether it's a statement or a judgment, whatever it is. Otherwise, it wouldn't even matter, right?
Yeah, but it's the same when we are also judging ourselves, because we are thinking that I should be behaving in a particular way, or this action will give me some kind of approval in life, and it's not happening, or I'm not able to do it that way. Then I'm judging myself, and I'm feeling incapable in some way, or I'm feeling not good enough in some way, isn't it? Is that what you're saying, Pritika?
I'm actually talking about judgment of others also, At this point in time, I think I'm also saying that, why would somebody's judgment sort of matter to me?
Why would somebody judge me rather than...
Right? I mean, it wouldn't matter to me if I am not concerned about pleasing the other person.
Absolutely.
Only if
or if I may say it a little more clearly, it's not about pleasing the other person. It's about just being comfortable the way I am. That's what we
do.
That's what we started with. That if I'm comfortable with whatever, like with my job, which is hardly paying me anything, but I'm enjoying it, or if, I may be weighing and whatever number of kgs, but I'm comfortable with my body and with the way I look, it's not going to bother me at all, whatever others may judge, isn't it? Because I'm happy and comfortable in my skin. True. Or I am at my center. I'm okay with whatever life is offering me, where I am at this moment. It is all perfect and fine. But if it is against what it ideally should be, or what I have presumed, or what I have thought, or what I think it should be, that's when the problem occurs, isn't it? So in a way, you're right. What you're saying, it's to please others or to please yourself. But if you are comfortable, the other person will not pick it up. But if you are conscious of that issue in your life, it will keep coming from various directions in different ways and forms.
So I'm actually, absolutely. So I think I just wanted to also share that I think I have personally struggled a lot with judgment. You and I've had multiple conversations on this. But
actually, that's why I picked up a handful of people today and I messaged them at 6:40, 6:45 that I really want, if you can make it, please be here. Because it is just this understanding which will free you and liberate you. Yeah,
right.
Go
But
ahead.
it's helped, Auntie. I think over a period of time, I've realized that if you just become just silent and not get into the drama, it just wouldn't. Because I mean, I've realized that it's very frankly, today there is X, tomorrow there'll be Y. It's
Absolutely.
it's
Absolutely.
just that the whole thing doesn't end exactly what you said till you don't accept who you are or where you
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
And again, your where you are is like you were saying, a judgment of yourself. And I think just quietening that side just gives so much peace of mind, because you don't jump into the drama. You're not getting impacted by the drama. So yeah, I think you've really helped me through this journey, to be very honest. I mean, and yeah, for many years, I think it's troubled me.
Yeah, but it's so liberating and freeing for all of us, isn't it? I mean, why would I want to go into like how they live, what do they do, what does somebody, how they are living their life or whatever. And even in some ways, if it is impacting my way of being, I don't need to get into that, because it just makes me as miserable as I'm thinking, with this conversation. It's having no impact on the other person. It's just I don't like the way they are, isn't it? So I want that they should be in another way. Why do they talk like this? Why do they do this? Why do they always choose this? It's their choice. Just let them choose and have the freedom for that way. Why do I have to always think that my way is the best way? And that comes down to another very important statement. It's this need to be proven right, isn't it? We are judging others because there is a need to be proven right. Does that make sense? Yes,
True.
Tanvi, who wants to speak?
Hi, Auntie. I'm Tanvi this side. So,
Yeah.
Auntie, like I wanted to ask, like sometimes when you're in a conversation with somebody and the other person just tends to hurt you, like without, just the person just says something and you get hurt. So at that point of time, Auntie, what should be done? Because then you kind of judge that person that you were being nice to them, but they just unintentionally or intentionally hurted you or something of that sort. So,
So why will it hurt you? Tanvi, tell me. Why will somebody say something? Tanvi, you absolutely have no sense of photography. Why will it hurt you if somebody says this?
Auntie, because I felt bad about that thing. So,
You are feeling bad. Why will you feel bad? Because you're believing what that person is saying, huh?
yeah.
Right? You're believing what that person is saying because you know you are so good at photography and the person still thinks that you are bad at photography. So it has nothing to do with the other person. It's because you know you don't have that confidence in yourself. If you say, wow, at this age, I mean, I do such a marvelous job with my, with the pictures I take or whatever I create in my photography, they might be feeling whatever. It doesn't matter. You could take that as a thing to go, but it only hurts you if you're believing that person, isn't it? If you believe that no, I'm absolutely perfect in my skills in photography, why will it hurt you?
Yeah.
So that means the person is saying you're not good and you're believing it. So he's right. And you're getting hurt, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
your lack of self-confidence.
Makes sense, Auntie. Yeah, it does.
Yes, Sonia?
Okay, thank you.
Chala, but this confidence also is a work in progress for everybody, right? Like on day one, it may everybody at different points of time may not feel confident about something that's just been commented, let's say for the first time.
Yes, Sonia.
Right?
So by now we say, and this is for all of us to really understand, it's not about just your skill at work or your relationship with such and such a person or your job or your child or your employee or your boss. You have to have that thing in the entire universe, in the entire way life is, that it's just fine. If my skill is, say, 10 on 10 in my eyes, but somebody else says that my skill is just a 4 on 10, that's their perception of mine, isn't it? That's there. I don't need to be. For me, I'm like 10 on 10 and I'm fine. And that's how the universe has made me at this time. You understand? At this time, I'm like this. Yes, I can aspire for something more or look at things in a different way. But at the moment, I am where I am and I'm okay where I am. Because
but then we may not take the feedback.
No, that if you're in a centered space, you will definitely take the feedback in a positive way. But if you're scattered and you're believing in that, yeah, he's putting me down or she's judging me, then of course you're not. Reflect on it. Now, why is that's a message again coming from the universe? Look at everything in a bigger picture now. That's a message coming from the universe that, yeah, pick yourself up. And if that person is saying something, don't feel bad about it. Look at it as a message from the universe that, yeah, somewhere, Tanvi, you need to enhance your skills or diversify your skills in some way. But don't feel bad about it. Feeling bad or feeling hurt will not help you to aspire for more. Right? In fact, it will put your vibrations down. Say, okay, so I feel very good where I am, but let me see where else I can expand. Because it's a message from a bigger picture. So look at everything in your life now from that aspect. That, okay, so where can I move from there? What is the message? I'm fine where I am. Here also the universe has put me now, whether it's 4 on 10 or 2 on 10 or 8 on 10. Now that scaling and numbering is coming from our minds, from different minds. Somebody might say, wow, you're 20 on 10. Somebody might say you're 2 on 10. That's each one's perceptions. It's all a relative scale, isn't it? So don't go by anything. Just look at it. Have the trust in yourself. Have the trust in the universe that everything is just happening in the way that it is meant to happen. Yeah. Yes, Bhavna.
Hi, Sujata. So
Hi,
nice
Bhavna.
to always hear you. So just going forward with the same discussion, I think this is such a brilliant Pandora's box that has opened. So to what Tanvi and Sonia have been saying, so it seems like a few minutes back, what you mentioned, that in life, there will be ups and downs, and there will be successes and not so successes, etc. So it also seems that life is also a journey about your own self. Like, I'm talking from my perspective, that it seems that life is also a journey about your own self-esteem, and how we are, how I am looking at different situations, and my self-esteem might be going up and down because of that. So the example that you shared, it could come to me that what others are saying is true, and I might sometimes, or many times, I'm talking about in a span of whatever, 60, 70, or let's say 40 years or 30 years of life, that it might keep coming back that I've tried so hard to be better at photography. I've done these courses, I have worked, or I have done I've interned with some good
Yeah.
really good photographer, everything, but I still probably am not good enough, or I'm still not doing, I'm not still good, because if the other person is saying, then it's probably true. It might be their perspective, but then it is true also. If it wasn't true, then they wouldn't say it. So how do we cut this, constant, this cord that can take us completely down, or that might come out, like today it might be photography, and maybe I, get over it. Tomorrow it could be something else. Third, it could be something else. Fourth, it could be something else. So if you can share something about
Yeah,
this.
that's exactly what I was telling Sonia, that you don't think about fixing situation A, B, C. You have trust in a bigger picture in whatever is happening in life. Have trust in the universe. And those downfalls or those sort of, issues are bound to come up. They are bound to be there. But if you feel like, you said that the other person is saying something and the other person is probably saying the truth. There is nothing like the other person may just change their opinion in the next moment, or another teacher might come and who might say that, wow, this is such an exclusive photography skill that you have. I haven't seen this before, because each one is looking from their own lens, isn't it? So yes, pull yourself up and look at that as a message from the universe that maybe you need to enhance your skills, maybe you need to grow more, because obviously there's a higher potential in you, which is making you, which is now being sort of prompted or asking you to reflect on that. But it won't come from a low self-esteem. You won't be able to grow if you're thinking that, oh gosh, I'm a failure. I might have just climbed this much, whereas I should have climbed this much. But even this is success, isn't it? We always say, don't look at the ultimate goal as success. Every step that you take is a success. So look at everything as a success and be proud of what you're doing or what you have already created, because that too is something which is commendable. It may not match up to another's point of view, especially when we're talking about skills. It may not match up. If you look at, photographers who are very professional and all that, they're definitely on some other on another level altogether. But that does not put you down. You don't have to put yourself down just because you're not up there. Keep moving to the level that you can. And each one of us has our own potential. I always give this example, Bhavna, because I've been a teacher for more than 16 years in my life. And if a child gets, say, scores in an exam, and the child scores, say, 60 on 100, and the parents say that, yeah, he could have scored better, or the teachers say that he has a higher potential. Obviously, he has the potential to score 100 on 100. But at that point, when he was giving that paper or doing that examination, this 60 on 100 was the 100% that the child could produce, isn't it? So every time, everybody is just doing their best. Look at that, but don't get away with that. Just know that definitely there is more to do, and there is more that you can do. And you will move only when you feel that, yeah, you have achieved something. If you feel I've just climbed this much and I'm just a failure, how will you be able to take the next step? So just say, yeah, maybe I need to enhance or diversify myself, or let me reflect on this message that somebody has given me. Of course, it's a message again coming from the universe, but don't put yourself down. What may seem like a small step to you may be very big for somebody, isn't it? So look at everything as a broader, open perspective, rather than just looking at it from a very narrow lens, and that too the lens of somebody, just one person who has made a comment, or two people who have made a comment. That's their outlook, na? But don't just totally keep following that. Look at yourself and say, okay, so how do I move from here? What else can I do? That you will only do when you're already feeling good about what you're doing, and there is, hope, trust, aspiration, confidence in yourself ahead, isn't it?
Yeah. And Sujata, can you also share a little bit about, like, I do seriously feel that I have this tendency of self-bashing. I have to, of course, when I become aware of it, then I do something about it. But it is pretty strong.
Okay, we've spoken a lot about it, self-sabotage, in today's discussion only. And I think we're really going over our time. So let's pick up this topic of self-sabotage or self-bashing, as you call it. I like the term, for next Sunday. And listen to this conversation. It will be out on YouTube tomorrow or day after, because I think you joined a little late, Bhavna. So we've been talking a lot about how we put ourselves down and how we, punish ourselves because we don't feel good enough. Yeah, so we'll talk about it. It's a lovely thing to talk about it. All of us have gone through it and do keep going into it or slipping into it at different times. So we'll definitely talk about self-bashing next time. Srishti, you have your topic for next Sunday's poster. Yeah, because I won't be able to do justice to it now, Bhavna, but we'll definitely take it up, because I'm sure it will not just help you, but help a lot of other people. Yeah.
Yes, sure. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Bhavna. Keep coming and joining and sharing, because it's so helpful when we all interact and share. In fact, that goes for all of you. Thank you for your contribution. It makes these sessions so alive and real, and it actually helps you in a different way. I might be messaging you 10 times, but when you come here and you hear that so many people are going through the same things in different ways, it really shows you that, yeah, it's okay. It's all work in progress, and we are all moving towards the positive, and this is what life is. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Sujata. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Bye.
you. Keep
Thank you.
coming. Thank you.
Thank you.